So I was posting the last couple weeks on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and stuff like that. And somebody asked me, he was like, "So what's the process in getting your CDL?" So my baby over there asleep. He was like, "What's the process in getting your CDL? Like, how did it go?" Okay, so how it went for me when I got my CDL. Well, first things first, I'll kind of explain the 3 ways that I know for a fact that you can get your CDL. Depending on your circumstance, depending on your situation, you can kind of gauge which one will work best for you. So the first situation, the first way, the easiest way for some people, the hardest way for others. The first way that I know, guaranteed way to get your CDL is to pay for it, is to come out of pocket and just pay for your CDL class. When I went to CDL school about 4 years ago, it was about, I think, $5,200. And how you have to pay is you have to pay, I think it's half, and then you can make payments on the rest of it. That's the first way that you can get your CDL. The second way you can get your CDL is you can contract with a company like I think Prime does it. I think a company like, it's another company that does it. I don't know all the names of the companies, but there's plenty of companies that do. But you can contract with a company and you go through them to do your CDL training. You do all your CDL training through them. They pay for it. They front the bill for you to get your CDL. And then once you acquire and get your CDL, or whether that's with no restrictions or whether that's with an automatic restriction, which means that once you get your CDL, you complete all the requirements, you have CDL in hand, you go ahead and you say, hey, you sign a contract with them either prior to or after. It's most likely prior to, and it says, hey, if once you get your CDL, you're gonna work for us for this amount of time, yada, 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 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, whatever it is. I think a gentleman commented, he was like, hey, I did the same thing through, I'm not gonna name the company right now, because to be honest, I don't know it off top. He was like, I went through a company and they said it'll be about 15 months, which is not too bad. You're saving money, you're getting experience, and you're getting paid while you're doing it. So that's the second way. The third way, which is the way that I took, and I was fortunate. When the world shut down, they were doing some type of revocation or trying to help people get into a better industry, trying to help people find a better career, trying to help people just better themselves after the world shut down, which was strange in itself. You understand what I'm saying? And it was a company that was offering grants. Of course, you had certain stipulations with this grant, but they'll pay for the whole thing. CDL for free. You understand what I'm saying? And that's kind of the 3 ways that I know for a fact that you can get your CDL. Now, as far as the process in getting your CDL, the first thing you need to do is get your CDL permit. You go to the DMV, and there's a 3-part test that you take on a computer. I think it's general knowledge, air brakes, and combination vehicles, which are the 3 categories of come on, Ray, come on with it. The 3 categories of the test that you have to take to pass and get your damn permit. There you go. The 3 categories of the test that you have to pass to get your permit. And once you get your permit, and this is like saying that you already found a school that you want to go to. Once you get your permit, go ahead and start looking for a school if you haven't found one. Now, there's 2 different types of schools that you can go to. There's some technical colleges. Like in my area, there's a college called Millermont Technical College, Trident Technical College, and you can go through a technical college and get it. Now, the only caveat with getting your CDL through a technical college is you have to be careful, because depending on the type of trucking you want to do, it doesn't make you any less of a trucker, in my opinion, but others will say different, but who gives a damn? You understand what I'm saying? But depending on the type of technical college that you go to, some of them only have automatic trucks. Now, if you take your test in an automatic CDL truck or automatic 18-wheeler semi-truck, automatic any type of truck, you're gonna have an automatic restriction on your license. If you have not driven a manual truck, if you're not driving and learning a manual truck in school, and you take your test in an automatic truck, or you don't take your test in a manual truck, you're gonna have an automatic restriction, which means that coming out of school, you have to you're only limited to drive automatic vehicles from Class A down. You understand what I'm saying? You're limited to drive Class A automatic vehicles. So like my truck is a manual. My truck is a 13-speed manual transmission, because the school that I went to, they didn't have, I learned on a 10-speed, 53-foot flatbed. I think it was international at the time. But yeah, if you don't take your test in a manual truck, you're gonna have a manual restriction. You're not gonna get to play with the motherfucking knob. You understand what I'm saying? And that's just kind of what that is. But the process, so once you get your CDL, you find a school that you want to go to, whether you're not too big about driving manual, you don't care about driving manual, or you're strictly, I want to drive manual. You have to take that into account when you're finding and choosing your school. So once you choose your school, you find your school, you find out what they need from you, what they require from you, to as far as payment, whether you're gonna go. If you're finding the school yourself, the only two options is a grant or you're paying. Figure out they most likely have a payment plan that you can work out with them. But when doing a payment plan with the school, you have to understand that if they don't have all your payments, whether you completed all the classroom time, I'll talk more about it, but whether you completed all the classroom time, the range time, which is the actual physical your drive time. Range time is your maneuvers. Driving time is actually on the road. You understand what I'm saying? Shifting and stuff like that. But range time is your maneuvers. Whether you completed all of that, they will not schedule your test. And if they don't schedule your test, you can't pass. You can't get your damn CDL until they get their payment, which is not a bad thing, but it's just something that you have to be aware of and cognizant of. You understand what I'm saying? Because that can definitely be a potential holdup. But the CDL course that I went through, I believe, and like I said, it was about a year ago, so I believe it was about 2 months. It was about 2 months. 2.5 months, probably about 8 weeks. About 2 months. You understand what I'm saying? When you're finding, another thing, when you're finding your school, you have to think about the time constraints, because CDL school for me was from, I think that shit started at 6 o'clock in the morning. To be real, I think it started at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it kind of works out, and I'll tell you more about that later in the video, but I think it started at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then you had to, my baby be drooling, jeez Louise. I think it started at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it ended at 4. So that's a big thing you have to take into account as far as like your time constraints, whether you have another job. They do have weekend classes, but that course I believe is about 14 weeks because it's weekends. And you got to think about it. Being new to driving, let's say you go to a school that has a manual truck, being new to driving and not getting that everyday practice, it kind of makes it difficult to retain those skills. After being off for 5 days and coming back on Friday, you damn near feel fresh. You understand what I'm saying? So that's another thing to take into account. You too hot? You're taking your shoes off, so why you gotta take your cup off? All right, don't worry about it. Yeah. You do it how you do it, Claire. You alright? Your feet hurts? Let me see. Probably take the suit. You're probably a size 14 now. Damn feet stink, smell like corn chips.
Yeah, but not this. It feels perfect.
Yeah, this one feels perfect. Well, you're just gonna take this out and make it even, okay? Sound pretty good? Your feet do stink. I ain't even gonna lie to you, son. Cover yourself up. Where was I at? Yeah, leaving and you're damn near feel like a rookie coming back. You understand what I'm saying? So that's another thing you have to keep in mind with the weekend courses. But long story short, so we done went over. I'm about to run out of fuel. We done went over the test of the DMV, which is the written exam. We done went over finding a school, whether or not you care or don't care about the automatic manual restriction thing. We done went through the time constraints. The next thing you have to go through is actually performing in the class. Now, depending on your instructor, they're gonna go through it fast. They're gonna go through it fast because they have an entire booklet of information to teach an entire class. So they're gonna go through it very, very fast. Is it possible to retain all the information? Yes, but they're going through it because they have a curriculum in such a short period of time to teach you guys how to, you understand what I'm saying? How to be efficient, or teach you the basic fundamental knowledge of being a truck driver and driving a damn truck. So they have a limited amount of time. So there's a limited amount of time allotted. That's a nice truck. Allotted for classroom time. But once you do classroom time, after classroom time, there is and then here's another thing. They're not gonna care whether or not you pick up the information in classroom time. It is your responsibility to focus and pay attention in these classes. But long story short, it's classroom time. After classroom time, it's you jump into the truck. Now they're gonna teach you the fundamentals of the truck. Double clutching, which is depending on the type of truck you're driving. Like I said, mine is a 13 speed. So let's say I was starting off at first speed. Double clutching is you push the clutch all the way down to the floor. You wait for the transmission to slow down so that you're able to slide it into gear. If it doesn't slide into the gear, you ease off the clutch a little bit. It'll slide into gear, you put back on the clutch. Double clutching is you get your RPMs up to the speed that you need to shift to the next gear. You hit the clutch to take it out of gear, neutral, hit the clutch again to put it back into gear, second gear, off the clutch, drive. Make sure I'm in neutral right now. But they'll teach you how to drive a truck, but they're not gonna teach you how to float. They might show you them floating, and depending on how fast your group, because they're gonna divide the classes into groups of, I think, about 3 or 4 students, depending on how big your class is, you're gonna divide it into groups, and that's gonna be your group, that's gonna be your driving group. Depending on how fast, excuse me, depending on how fast it takes the rest of the group to grasp the concept of double clutching and shifting gears, is kind of gonna determine whether or not they'll teach you how to float and more advanced techniques of driving a manual 18-wheeler truck. Now, they're going to teach you how to double clutch. They're going to teach you how to rev match, which is really important when you're downshifting, because the transmission in a manual truck, a manual 18-wheeler truck, is not synchronized, which means that you have to match the RPMs to get it into gear. You understand what I'm saying? That means you're also able to float it. Now, as far as that goes, it's very easy to mess up and damage something. So they're going to teach you how to rev match. And depending on your instructor, they may teach you gently, they may teach you rough, but they're going to teach you that. Once you learn that, you're going to do a little bit of driving. Once you do a little bit of driving just to get a feel for the truck, they're going to take you to the range. Now, the range is very important because the range is actually going to be a part of the test. Everything they teach you is going to be a part of the test, your driving test. Range time is very important because this is where you get the time to practice all of the maneuvers that are going to be required for you to pass and take your CDL. You understand what I'm saying? So when I took my CDL 4 years ago, the amount of skills, maneuvers that we had to take, I think it was 4. It wasn't as much as there is now. The longer you wait to get your CDL, it seems that they're adding more and more and more and more skills to the CDL exam. So you have to kind of be cognizant of that and take that into account when you're thinking about getting your CDL. You understand what I'm saying? So the maneuvers that I think we did was offside backing to the right offside backing. We did parallel parking. We did straight line back, and then I think it might have just been those 3. So I was very fortunate. It might have just been those 3, and I knew how to do it. Double clutching was very easy for me. You understand what I'm saying? You have to double clutch on your test. If you don't double clutch on your test, depending on where you are, they will fail you. Another couple things about your test: you can't let the truck roll to a stop. Even you can do that in real life. You can't let the truck roll into a stop outside of a gear. You have to downshift before every light. But these are kind of good practices to make sure you maintain control of that vehicle. You understand what I'm saying? What else? Let me see if I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything. But that's the basic breakdown of the CDL exam. I don't think it gets more complicated than that. If you guys have any questions about anything that I said or anything that you feel like I missed or I could explain better, go ahead and drop a comment. Go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna go ahead and this is just like basic fundamental things, basic fundamental knowledge of certain things about the trucking industry as I know it to be and as I've learned it, that I'm just dropping and bringing to you guys, just kind of trying to be a little bit more informative. I see with the content that I drop on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and TikTok, sometimes people have questions, and what better way to answer it than in a video. But right now, we're about to get loaded with some sand right now, early morning load. The pit is not as packed. Pit just means pickup location. The pickup location is not as packed, so we're gonna be very, very we're gonna be on time. And I'm just gonna be doing all different type of things about the truck, man. Just the trucking industry. I know there's a lot of people. When I got my CDL 4 years ago, there was a lot of interest in the trucking industry. To be honest, it seems like the interest has spiked. Like there's more interest in the CDL industry now than it was back then. And I feel like, to me personally, it was easier to get your CDL back then, but it's not hard to get it now. So what I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna find the app that I used to study for my permit test, even though I failed it 2 times, gang, I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna drop it in the comments. Not the comments, I'm gonna drop it in the description just for you guys. And the thing that's so cool about this app is you can pick the state that you're in and they'll give you certain local state, you know what I mean? What do they call them? Road laws. You understand what I'm saying? And it'll kind of help you better understand. Oh, damn, I do not want to get overloaded. But he got overloaded. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end this because I'm rambling right now. I'm not talking about too much of nothing but why you ain't sleeping, son? You about to sleep, you got school. But yeah, we about to get this load, about to swing this load, and I'm gonna take my boy to school and then we're gonna jump back in it. But yeah. Peace.